Ja sam radostan I zahvalan Bogu što se nalazim sa vama ovog svetog dana na ovom svetom mestu.
I'm glad and thankful to God that I can be with you this day in this holy place.
Lepo je videti poznata lica, meni lica draga koje već znam dugo vremena, a takođe zadovoljstvo mi je da vidim I neke nove osobe I da nove ljude upoznam.
It's always nice to see familiar faces, but also gives me great pleasure to see people who are new, who I meet the first time.
Ja kao lekar treba da vas upoznam sa jednim lekom.
As a physician, I need to make you familiarize you with one particular medicine or remedy.
I ja ću o tom leku, o tom medikamentu govoriti.
I'd like to speak about this medicament or this medicine.
Vi možete nabaviti u Kanadi I to sve kolika je cena, ja o tom neću govoriti.
So whether you can acquire it here in Canada or not, and what is the price, I cannot talk about that.
No, ja verujem da svi vi znate šta je radio.
I trust that all of you know what is radio.
Mi smo malo starija generacija, taj aparat je bio veoma popularan I imao je svoje mesto.
We are some of us older generation, and that device was very popular, had its own place.
Sada je taj radio malo potisnut novim tehnološkim sredstvima.
Yeah, radio today is put in the background because there are new technological devices.
I ja bih hteo da samo koristim ovu sliku radija da bi vam dočarao I ovaj stih uvodni I priču o mozgu da bi mogao da vam objasnim što bolje.
Yeah, I'd like to use this example or metaphor of radio to help you better understand the verse that I will introduce and also the operation of our brain.
Mi upalimo radio I slušamo neku lepu muziku.
We turn on radio and we are listening to some nice music.
Da li muzika je napravljena u radiju?
Was the music made in the radio?
Ili na nekom drugom mestu? Okay.
Or was the music created somewhere else, in some other place? To turn it on?
Da. Znači, muzika se ne stvara u radiju.
So music is not created in the radio.
Ali radio je taj koji nam omogućava da čujemo muziku.
But the radio makes it possible for us to hear the music.
Tako isto postoji jedan deo u našem mozgu.
Likewise, there is a part in our brain
u kome se ne stvara duhovnost.
In which spirituality is not created.
Nego je taj deo mozga odgovoran I zaslužen da mi registrujemo I osetimo duhovnost.
But that part of the brain is responsible or makes it possible for us to simply sense spirituality.
Čudno je vreme u kome mi danas živimo.
The times in which we live are very strange.
Čovjek je postao majstor spoljašnosti.
Man has become a master of external circumstances, outside world. Information, technology, speed, but at the same time, man lost touch with something much deeper and more important, with his inner support, his silence, his why.
A upravo u toj unutrašnjosti nalazi se suština našeg života I našeg zdravlja.
And precisely here in this, our inner life, in silence and inner orientation, the health begins, which medicine is only now fully discovering.
Biblija nam kaže
The Bible tells us
da se u našoj unutrašnjosti,
that in our inner life,
u našoj smirenosti,
in our confidence, quietness,
sposobnosti da se smirimo I da zastanemo malo,
in our ability to calm down, to slow down,
da se tu nalazi naša snaga.
that is the secret of our strength.
A psihijatar Viktor Frankl, on to upotpunjuje sledećim rečima.
Psychiatrist Viktor Frankl adds, a person can endure almost anyhow if he has a strong enough why.
Ta dva glasa,
These two voices,
jedan drevan, biblijski,
one ancient,
psihijatrijski,
biblical, another modern,
govore istu poruku.
psychological or psychiatrist, they have the same message. Yeah. Inner spiritual strength is real, biological, measurable, and crucial for human life and health. In a world of external pressures, the spiritual dimension of man becomes not a luxury, but a biological necessity.
I nama preti jedna opasnost
And we are facing a danger
u koju je uvučen savremeni svet.
in which the modern world is dragged in.
I to što njih zapljuskuje i nas.
And that what is challenging this modern world challenges also us today.
A to je da gledamo na spoljašnjost, na prolaznost, na duku i tome slično.
And this is that we are simply observing externalities, what is outside, the noise, this all events, speedily taking place around us.
Važno je da shvatimo da je čovek telesno, duševno, i psihičko, emocionalno i duhovno biće.
So it's important for us to understand that man is corporeal, he has a physical aspect of his being, he has a soul, he is having emotional being, and also man has a spiritual dimension.
Ja sam rekao da mi imamo kao neki radio u našem mozgu.
So I mentioned we have kind of a radio in our brain.
Odnosno imamo strukturu koja je zadužena za duhovnost.
Let us check the microphone once again. Let me see. Oh, it's here. Oh yeah, now it's on.
Okay.
Now it's okay. No, you don't have it. Just it's here. Yeah, it's on.
Dobro. Mislim da ista stvar. Tako to sam ja pobedio.
Yeah.
Ja govorim glasno, pa sad čuće se i bez...
I talk loudly so you can hear even without speakers.
Muzika ne nastaje u radiju.
So music is not generated in a radio.
Tako isto i...
So likewise, spirituality does not arise in the brain as a secretion, but it is reflected, received, and integratively carried in the brain. Biology does not create conscience, but it allows the conscience to express itself. A very important thought. In other words, the brain is an instrument, not the source of the spirit. Spirit and spirituality comes from God. Nevertheless, certain cortical regions are necessary for the spiritual dimension to be consciously accessible, articulated, and lived.
Mi živimo danas u svetu kada je istočnjačka filozofija ili religija jako popularna.
In our world, modern world, Eastern religions and Eastern philosophies are very popular.
Panteizam zapljuskuje i nauku i umetnost, pa medicinu i psihologiju također.
Pantheism influences modern culture, science, medicine.
I mi kad govorimo, čak, kao kažem, verovanje u vaskrsenje je potisnuto verovanjem u reinkarnaciju.
Yeah. So belief in a resurrection is suppressed by belief in reincarnation.
Ali nauka nas podsjeća da Biblija je u pravu.
But the Bible reminds us, science reminds us that the Bible has right.
I u svetlosti nauke, posebno neurologije, mi vidimo da je taj panteizam i verovanje u reinkarnaciju potpuno nenaučno.
And from the biblical point of view, we can see that this belief in reincarnation is completely incorrect, wrong.
Čovek ima u svom mozgu neke strukture koje se ne nalaze ni u jednom drugom živom biću.
Now, human brain has certain structures that you cannot find in any other living being.
Znači, ljudski mozak ima ne više nečega, nego ima kvalitetno nešto novo što se ne nalazi kod drugih živih.
So human brain not only does have numerically more of certain things than other creatures, but has something that other creatures don't have. It's unique for human race.
I upravo iz tih struktura
And exactly from these structures
nalazimo najčovečnija svojstva, ili u njima izviru najčovečnija svojstva.
And exactly from these unique structures of human brain, we actually emerge uniqueness of human being, of human character.
I najprimitivniji čovek ispoljava duhovnost, a istovremeno ni najrazvijenija životinja nema duhovnost.
Yeah.
Manifestacije
So you can
duhovnosti.
find even the most primitive human beings express spirituality or are receptive to spiritual life, whereas even the most advanced animals do not have that capacity, that ability. So we go back, right? Spirituality is universal human property. Now, author by the name Zentner said, in every human being there is a spiritual dimension, a quality that goes beyond religious determination and strives toward meaning and the Creator. This spiritual dimension tends to be in harmony with God and seeks answers to the questions, who am I, where do I come from, and where I'm going. Spirituality is a neglected dimension of the human being that especially comes to the fore during difficult trials and sufferings, such as facing serious illness or death.
Najčovečnija svojstva se upravo nalaze u čeonom režnju, frontalnom lobu.
So the most humane aspects of our being are in the frontal lobe.
Slovenski jezik je logičan jezik.
So Slavic languages are pretty logical.
I čovek, ili kao ljudsko biće, definisana, stara slovenska reč je čelovijek za čoveka.
Yeah.
Tako da je u ime, u definiciju, u pojmovnu definiciju čoveka je uključen frontalni lob sa svojim centrima. Kako se to gasiti, ja ne znam.
Sure. So in Slavic languages, I have to explain to you, those who speak Slavic languages understand, we have for a man the word čovjek or človjek. But this word, first part, designates the forehead. So in Slavic languages, the word man or human being actually connects this frontal lobe of the forehead and the being.
Okay. Ajde da vidimo koje su to svojstva koja su specifična i najčovečnija, a nalaze se u frontalnom lobu.
So let us look, what are these properties or attributes that are in the frontal lobe and that are most characteristic or most best express human beings?
To je volja.
First, it's a will.
I sloboda izbora.
And freedom of choice.
Druga, to je svest.
Consciousness.
I treća, savest.
And the third is conscience.
Idemo da vidimo savest.
Let's talk about conscience.
To je mesto, rečeno slikovito, u našem mozgu gde su smešteni zakoni, pravila, etičke norme.
Yeah. So conscience is a part of our brain or our being where are placed normative structure, rules, laws, principles, ethical standards.
U Bibliji postoji jedan stih koji govori da je savest antropološki univerzalna.
Now, so in the Bible, there is a Bible verse that tells us that conscience is something that is common to all human beings. It's something universal.
Znate li koji stih kaže da svaki čovek ima savest?
Do you know which Bible verse tells us
Moralni zakon.
that every human being has conscience, has a moral law?
Ajmo malo da se aktiviramo.
Let me challenge you. Do you know any verse that tells us that every human being has that moral consciousness?
I da je to glas Božji koji je Bog metnuo u svako živo biće.
And that this is the
Ko ne zna da čita
Yeah.
i to sve, ali ima to.
That this is the voice of God that God has placed in every human being that, that exists in this world. Apostle Paul?
Da.
Yeah.
Apostol Pavle u Rimljanima u drugom poglavlju,
Yeah, Apostle Paul in Romans,
2:14 i 15,
verses 2, 14 and 15.
tu nalazimo upravo to. Vrati natrag.
Oh, we have to go back.
Znači,
Okay.
nalazimo upravo tu činjenicu ili
Yeah.
tu potvrdu.
Yeah, exactly in this Bible verse, in that text, we find support for this claim.
On ne govori da su svi ljudi religiozni,
Paul doesn't say that all people are religious,
ali svi su ljudi moralno odgovorni.
but all human beings are morally responsible, accountable.
On kaže da je zakon napisan u njihovim srcima,
So he says the law is written in their conscience,
da savest im svedoči.
that their own conscience testifies or witnesses to them,
i da misli se opravdavaju i optužuju.
so that the thoughts either accuse or justify.
Čovek može biti bez poznavanja dekaloga,
Yeah. So
Textualno.
a human being can live without knowing the text of the Decalogue of Ten Commandments.
ali on nije bez unutrašnjeg moralnog glasa i svedoka.
Yeah. But he is not, although he may not know the text of Ten Commandments, he is not without a moral compass in his mind.
U čelu ili u čelu se nalaze centri koji nam omogućuju da imamo svest.
So in our forehead, here, there are centers that enable us to have consciousness or conscience. The essence of the soul that distinguishes man qualitatively from all other living beings.
Svest je centar religioznosti, odnosno transcendentalnosti čoveka.
Consciousness is the center of religiosity, that is the transcendentality of man.
Imamo mobitel u našim rukama, u našim kućama
So we have a mobile phone in our hands, in our homes.
i tamo ima opcija turn on, turn off.
Yeah, we have option, we can turn it on or turn it off.
I šta mi radimo?
And what do we do?
Mi slobodno biramo da ćemo ga uključiti ili ćemo ga isključiti.
Yeah. So we freely choose, shall we turn it on or turn off?
Kad ga uključimo,
When we turn it on,
stižu nam poruke,
we receive messages,
pisane ili nas neko zove
written messages, or somebody is calling us,
ili poruku u vidu glasa.
or voice message.
Šta se dešava kada čovek slobodnim izborom uključi ove strukture koje su odgovorne za duhovnost?
So what does happen when a human being willfully, knowingly turns on these centers?
Pomeri.
So let's read. Yeah. What happens when the special Wi-Fi center for spirituality turns on?
Ko sam ja?
Who am I?
Od koga potičem i od koga dolazim?
Where
na
do I
ovaj
come
svet?
from? Where do I come from?
Kuda idem, odnosno šta je krajnji smisao
Where I'm going?
i cilj mog života?
What is the meaning and ultimate goal of my life?
Kad čovek čuje ta pitanja i kad sam sebi ih postavlja, on u tom trenutku postaje religiozan.
So when a man hears these questions and when he asks himself, then we become religious.
Biti svestan ovih pitanja,
So be aware of these questions,
razmišljati o njima
think about these questions,
i tražiti odgovor,
and search for answers to these
to
questions.
znači postati duhovno biće koje koristi Bogom dane strukture u svom mozgu.
This means to become a spiritual being that uses God-given abilities to connect with God.
Šta čovjek može uraditi?
So what a man can do,
Razmišljati jedan dan o tome,
think one day about this,
tražiti odgovore
search for answers.
i reći neću više o tom da razmišljam i turn off uradi.
So I don't want to think about this thing anymore, and we just simply turn it off.
A može da zadrži
But we can also
uključenu tu opciju.
we can retain this connection. We can remain connected.
Ako isključi,
If you turn it off,
šta on postaje?
what do you become?
Ateista.
You become an atheist.
Ako drži uključeno i traži odgovore, on je duhovan čovjek, pobožan čovjek.
If you keep it on, this receptor, and you search for answers, you become spiritual being, religious person.
Ima jedna lepa izreka.
There is a beautiful expression.
Ako ne znaš kuda si krenuo, gde god da stigneš, bit ćeš na pogrešnom mestu i zato nesrećan.
If you don't know where you're going, wherever you end up, you will be in the wrong place, and therefore unhappy.
A upravo to je snašlo savremenog čoveka.
And exactly this befell the human man.
Današnji
Human
čovjek je
person.
izgubio svoj odnos prema duhovnosti i prema Bogu.
So modern man has lost his place in relation to God and relation even to himself.
Čite sve.
Yeah. So we can read this text. Today's man has lost his relationship with the supernatural. The feeling of not belonging to anything made him like a wild animal at the whims of the hunters. The man lost his faith. Atheism, whether practical or ideological, has become a world phenomenon. The immediate consequence of the loss of faith is the loss of the foundation of existence, the loss of the meaning of life.
Posebno u mladosti je važno da se ovo shvati.
It is very important that we understand this in our youth.
Moramo imati cilj,
We need a goal.
shvatiti zašto smo došli na ovu zemlju
We have to understand why we came to this world.
i šta treba da činimo sa vremenom, sa zdravljem, sa svim našim Bogom danim talentima.
So we need to understand what we need to do with our time and with any other God-given talent.
Posebno je knjiga Vaspitanje značajna za mlade osobe i za razumevanje ovog o čemu ja govorim.
And especially the book Education is important for young people, young persons, and for everyone to understand this topic that I'm talking about.
Šta je cilj života i cilj obrazovanja ili vaspitanja?
So what is the meaning? What is the purpose of life and education?
Da pronađemo smisao i da damo značaj svome životu.
Find meaning and significance in your life.
Zašto?
Why?
Evo šta kaže jedan psihijatar, poznati je pisac knjige. On je bio protestant, ako je Carl Gustav Jung. Je,
Yeah.
protestant.
Yeah.
Ajde čujemo šta kaže.
For Jung, the cause of numerous modern neuroses is the lack of life goal. Among all my patients in the second half of life, says Jung, there is not a single one whose final problem was not the problem of knowing the purpose of life. In modern neurosis, Jung finally sees the suffering of a soul that has not found its meaning in life.
I mislim da je knjiga Propovednika, prvo i drugo poglavlje, posebno značajno za ovo o čemu govori i ovaj psihijatar Carl Gustav Jung.
And I believe that the book Ecclesiastes, the first and second chapter, is especially important addressing this topic about which Jung has spoken.
Pa evo, da li želite da budete bogati? Kad bi vas neko pitao, šta bi vi rekli?
If someone asks you a question, would you like to be rich or wealthy?
Ne, neću to.
What would you say? Would you say, oh, well, I don't need it, I don't like
Imate
it?
zlata, dolara, koliko hoćete, drago kamenja i tome slično.
For example, you have gold, you have a lot of, large amounts of dollar, you have properties. You don't need it.
Solomon je to imao.
Solomon had it.
Šta je Solomon još imao?
What else did he have?
Život zabave, hedonizma, koliko
He
hoćete.
had a life of pleasures.
Muzika na sve strane, pevači, pevačice, svirci, pratili su ga gde god on ide.
Yeah, he had entourage of musicians, singers, people playing instruments, wherever he was going.
Žena koliko god je hteo.
As many women as he wanted, he had.
Ne znam kako je preživeo sve to. I šta je još imao?
What else did he have?
Imao je nekretnine.
He had properties, real estate,
I to dvorce velike.
castles,
Vrtove, jezera.
gardens, lakes, name it.
Šta je još imao?
What else did he have?
Kaže, imao sam mudrosti,
I
ta
had,
mudrost nije me napustila.
and I had wisdom, and that wisdom did not leave me.
I da ja ne bi sad širio priču, ja vas pozivam da, posebno mlađi svet, da istražujete malo prvo i drugo poglavlje knjige Propovednika.
I don't want to talk more about this topic. I just invite you, especially younger generation, to read Ecclesiastes chapters 1 and 2.
Tu vidimo 4 ili 5 životnih ciljeva koji i dan danas savremeni čovjek postavlja pred sebe.
There we can find about 4 or 5 life goals that the modern human being also faces today.
On je sve te ciljeve postigao.
He reached all these goals.
Sve što može danas čovjek da poželi,
Yeah.
to je Solomon imao, ali u mnogo većoj količini, u mnogo većoj
Whatever a
meri.
modern human being would desire, Solomon had it all, and even in a larger measure than we can even ask
A
for.
šta je izgubio?
And what he lost,
Šta nije imao?
what he did not have
U tom nekom srednjem životnom dobu.
in that middle age, what he did not have.
Neko bogatstvo je nešto vredno je izgubio.
Something valuable he lost.
Izgubio je Boga.
He lost God on
Duhovnost je svoju izgubio.
spirituality.
I evo što je on upisao kada je sve to postigao i kada je u starosti ili u svojim ovim našim godinama, kada se okrenuo, da vidimo što je napisao.
And when he reached maturity in his life and when he went through all these experiences, what did he learn about the wisdom? What did he learn? We read, everything is painful that man cannot express. The eye cannot see, nor the ear can listen. What has been will be, what has been done will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. That is why I hate life, because I do not like what happens under the sun, because everything is vanity and torment to the spirit.
Kad je sve to je imao, ali nije imao Boga i izgubio je duhovnost.
So he had all these material things and all these pleasures, but he lost God.
Hajde da se upoznamo sa jednim meni veoma dragim čovekom i da pozovemo njega na predavanje. Jednog poznatog velikog čoveka da pozovemo u predavanje.
Yeah, let us invite a well-known, well-respected man to our lecture today.
To je Viktor Frankl.
Viktor Frankl.
Živeo je 92 godine.
He lived 92 years.
Čite, molim.
Now, he was a successful neurologist and psychologist. He was a Holocaust survivor. He was deported to camp in 1942, lost his wife and family, and he is the writer of A Man's Search for Meaning.
I on je živeo u Nemačkoj za vreme Hitlera.
Yeah, he lived in Germany during the time of Adolf Hitler.
I evo šta ga je u životu snašlo.
And look what befell him in life. So we go to next one. In the Nazi regime, he lost his wife, brother, parents, and most of his friends. After liberation, he weighed only 38 kilograms. The painful experience of meaninglessness was a turning point in the life of a young and promising psychiatrist and confirmed to him that the basic driver of human life is his search for meaning. Frankl built logotherapy on the depths of his knowledge, which were not only theoretical, but the result of his life experiences through hell to find a way to light, to meaning.
Na koga vam biblijskog pisa ili iskustvo biblijske ličnosti ovo podsjeća?
To which Bible character the life of Viktor Frankl reminds you? Job.
Da. Pazite, i u knjizi o Jovu, i u knjigama ovoga Viktora Frankla,
both in the book of Job and the life of Viktor Frankl in his books,
nalazimo slične poruke, veoma važne.
We find very similar messages, important messages.
Patnja,
suffering,
životna nevolja.
Life suffering.
Jedan prostor.
A space.
Koji mi možemo ispuniti.
What we can fill.
Smislom.
With meaning.
Ili kuknjavom, jadikovanjem, plakanjem.
Or with wailing and moaning and regretting or something like that.
Patnja.
Suffering.
Za Jova.
For Job.
I za ovoga čoveka.
And for this man.
Je bila posticaj.
Was a stimulus.
Da nađe smisao.
To find meaning.
I ta patnja je na kraju njemu bila oruđe.
And that suffering was a tool.
Za duhovni rast.
For spiritual growth.
I za približavanje svome Bogu.
And for coming close to God. Yeah. So next one. Oh, I have to translate this one, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Only that man who finds the meaning of that he was searching for is prepared to suffer and to make sacrifice for that meaning. He is ready to lay down even his own life if needed or necessary. On the other hand, if there is no meaning, man is inclined to take his own life, and also he is prepared to do to do that even when he satisfies all his other needs.
I ovo kaže, neka me kažnjava Bog.
He said,
Pušta šta patnje i nevolje na mene.
he said, let God punish me. Let he allow suffering to come in my life.
Šta će se desiti sa
What,
mnom?
what will happen with me?
Ja znam
I
da,
know.
da ću izaći kao zlato, čistiji i pretopljeniji nakon te patnje.
I know I will come out like gold, refined.
Ili imate nevolje u životu?
Do you have suffering or trouble in
Neke
life?
gubitke,
Did you-
materijalne, zdravlja, dragih osoba.
Did you experience loss of health or loss of dear people or some property loss?
To je vreme ili prostor i vreme da ga ispunimo ne sa plakanjem i kuknjavom i tome slično, nego da to bude posticaj da se približimo Bogu i da tu patnju iskoristi, da ta patnja postane sredstvo čišćenja nas i naše karaktera.
So if you are going through these experiences of loss and suffering, this is not a reason or ground to take your own life, but to search for meaning, how you can use these experiences to bring you closer to God and find true meaning in life. So he said further, the message I received in concentration camps, and which message was in the meantime confirmed by psychiatric research on war, people who were in war prisoners of war, is the following message. The chains to survive had people who were psychologically directed to future, to some task they need to fulfill in the future, and some meaning that they have to find or realize in the future.
Dakle, kao
Therefore,
rezime
as a summary,
njegove filozofije i njegovog posmatranja
his,
života,
his own life philosophy, his own reasoning,
šta je?
what did he find?
Čovek može da izdrži gotovo svako kako,
The man can survive almost any situation in life. Only, a man can withstand almost anyhow if he has a strong enough why.
smisao utiče ili povećava biološku otpornost
Yeah.
i psihofizičku izdržljivost.
Yeah, so meaning affects biological resistance and psychophysical resilience.
Osobe koje nađu smisao u svojim životnim nevoljama, te nevolje mnogo lakše podnose.
People who find meaning in the difficulties of life, they can cope and deal with these difficulties much easier.
Dakle,
Therefore,
u našem čelu
in our forehead,
imamo opciju turn on, turn off.
we have this option to turn on or turn off.
Kada uključimo opciju turn on,
When we engage this option to turn on,
pitaćemo se
we will ask the question,
kuda ja idem?
where am I going? Where am I going?
Šta je smisao onoga što danas radim i što sutra planiram da
So
radim?
what is the meaning of that, what I'm doing today and what I plan to do tomorrow?
Biblija kaže,
The Bible tells us,
čoveče,
man,
stani na svojim putevima.
stand in your ways
I pogledaj oko sebe,
and look around you,
vidi kuda te taj put vodi.
search and find out where is this path leading you to.
Da li je taj put
Is that path?
onaj put koji je Bog predvidio za nas
Is that the path that God designed for you?
ili je to neki naš lični put?
Or is this something that you have chosen without consulting God?
Život je putovanje.
Life is a journey.
To kaže patrijah Avram,
Abraham says that.
apostol Pavle
Paul says that.
Jevrejima 12. poglavlji piše da je život putovanje.
Yeah, Hebrews 12, Apostle Paul talks about life being a journey.
I sad mi krenemo na jedno, ali kako putovanje?
But what kind of journey?
Putovanje kroz nepoznatu budućnost.
Traveling through unknown future.
I mi kad krenemo u neke nepoznate krajeve,
When we, set out in some
Auto.
unknown territories
radimo?
by a car, what do?
vozimo, pa ovo mi deluje lepo, idem na ovaj put. Pa ovaj put mi je interesantan, aj skrenut ću tu. Jel mi to radimo?
Oh, that's an interesting path. or a road, let me go there, or oh, that's an interesting, oh, this is a quite
Kako mi biramo gde ćemo
curious.
skrenuti i u kom pravcu ćemo na raskrsnici
So
ići?
how do we make choices where and when shall we turn? Or right, or left, or go straight? How do we do it?
Od moje sestre unuk
Aha.
kaže, pa pitajte i tu.
My sister's grandson says, ask auntie.
Uključi GPS
Yeah, you turn on GPS or engage, yeah,
i onda nećeš imati problema.
and you will not have a problem.
Kaže, uho će tvoje slušati.
Your ear will listen. Here,
Idi, ovo je put kojim ti treba da ideš.
this is the way. Go this way.
Ovde se čuvaj, ovamo ne idi. i tome
Watch,
slično.
watch. Be careful. That way. Don't go there.
Solomon kaže,
Solomon says,
na svim svojim putevima,
on all your ways,
putovanjima,
your journeys,
uključi GPS.
turn on or use GPS.
Imaj ga na umu i Bog će onda upravljati putovanjima i stazama tvojim.
Keep God in your mind, and He will direct your paths.
Idemo malo na na zadovoljstva.
Let's talk about
Idemo da uživamo malo.
let's talk about pleasures in life and find that there is absurdness of hedonism.
Ajde da vidimo u čemu se to radi.
So what we are talking about here?
Živimo u svetu
So we are living in a world.
gde imamo sve više sredstava za zabavu, za uživanje.
We have more and more opportunity for pleasures, enjoyment.
Sve više mogućnosti za neku razonodu i da se smejemo.
Yeah, to have fun, how we say in English, right?
Ali šta?
But what?
Šta se dešava?
What happens?
Sve više nesrećnih, anksioznih i depresivnih ljudi.
The more we move in that world of enjoyment and pleasure and fun, the more we have people who are anxious, who are depressed, who are unhappy.
U naše vreme, ja ne znam da li je neko sa 15 ili 20 godina bio depresivan i anksiozan.
In our youth, we do not remember that people in teenage years, 15, 16, were depressed or anxious or having such problems. It was
To je jako, jako retko bilo.
very rare, very rare.
Danas dolazi devojčica sa 16 godina, mladić sa 20 godina, ataci panike, anksioznost, depresija, prekidaju školovanje dok se ne izleči i tome slično.
Today you are having teenagers, 15, 16, a girl, a boy, having anxiety, panic attacks, depression. They even need treatment. They cannot continue schooling because of these conditions.
Hajde vidimo u čemu se tu radi.
So let's talk, what are we dealing with
Čitaj
here?
ovaj slajd ceo.
Yeah. So let us read. Physical illness affects the mental state of a person, and more importantly, our immature mental states, especially those that last for months and years, have a decisive influence on the appearance of some physical diseases. It has been established that a long-term state of sadness and depression, anger and rage, fear or constant worry conditions first certain functional and then organic changes in our body.
Prvo se jave tu neki grčevi u stomaku,
First, you experience some kind of cramps in your stomach,
loše varenje,
poor digestion,
a kasnije dođe
and later,
ulceracija, ulkus.
and then you develop
Ili
ulcer.
polip ili karcinom.
Yeah, it can be a polyp, it can be carcinoma later on.
Ajde da vam dam jedan stvarno dobar lek za stomačne tegobe.
Let me prescribe a good medicine for digestive problems.
Danas sve više trbuh i stomak zovu drugi mozak.
More and more in our time, the science calls or refers to the stomach digestive system as a second brain.
I puno psihosomatskih tegoba se, kako kažem, slije u našem abdomenu.
So many psychosomatic disorders or problems actually originate from the stomach, from digestion.
Šta je dobar lek?
So
Prirodni.
what is a good natural treatment?
Lemon balm. Tea of lemon balm.
So you heard. Tea of lemon balm, yeah.
Jako je dobar za psihosomatske tegobe koje se javljaju u našem abdomenu.
Very good for psychosomatic problems that develop in our digestive
Neće
system.
nas uspavati,
It will not make us sleepy,
nego će, kako kažem, regulisati te gobe koje osjećamo u našem abdomenu zbog onoga što se dešava u našoj glavi.
but will simply balance and bring in order these problems in the digestive system and then influence the state of mind, brain.
Teško je naći danas savremenu bolest u čijem nastanku ne učestvuju negativne emocije, odnosno naša psiha.
It's difficult to find today a physical illness that is not affected somehow by the state of mind.
I da bi se iscelili,
And to be healed,
šta je potrebno?
what is needed? What do we need? The healing process, especially from chronic diseases, depends to a great extent on reestablishing our psychological balance and peace of mind.
Duh proroštva puno o tome govori.
The spirit of prophecy talks a lot about this.
I mi znamo Hrista kako je Hristos lečio.
So we know how Christ was healing people.
Onaj oduzeti čovek
There was a man who was paralyzed,
dolazi kod Hrista
and he comes to Christ.
i kaže Hristos,
What does Jesus tell him?
pa znaš šta, izvini, mladiću, čoveče,
Excuse me, young man.
ko ti je kriv što si bolestan?
Who-
Sam si grešio, izvini, sad snosi posljedice.
Who is guilty for your condition? You sinned, and now you suffered.
Treba da se naučiš pameti.
You have to learn from your mistakes.
Šta Hristos kaže?
What did he tell him?
Zapazite koje reči, kako idu, tu imamo nekoliko koraka.
So please pay attention. We have few steps here.
Hristos kaže čoveče,
Christ says, man.
i tako kaže.
What does he say?
Ne kaže čoveče.
He doesn't say man.
Šta kaže? Sine.
He says son. Son.
Ne kaže ni tako. Ne kaže ni tako, u deminutivu.
Not even.
Ne znam kako u engleskom. U srpskom je sinko. Deminutiv.
Yeah,
Tepa.
in English is son, right? Sine. Yeah.
But.
Yeah. Okay.
Ali to je jača reč.
Yeah.
You know what is deminutiv?
Yeah. In some other translation is used. It's used even a kind of a pet word or endearing word for a son, right?
Šta je sljedeća reč?
What is the next word?
Ne boj se.
Fear not.
Zašto?
Don't be afraid.
Pa zato što je strah ga je doveo do anksioznost, ga je dovela
Because
do telesnih tegoba.
fear and anxiety brought him to this physical, ailment.
A kako da se ne bojim kada me muči savest?
So
osuđuje
how
savest?
to not have fear when his conscience was troubling him?
Kad znam da Bog postoji da će jednog dana suditi svakom čoveku.
So he knows God exists, God will judge every human being, so he was troubled in his conscience.
Šta kaže Hristos sljedeću reč?
What does Jesus say next word?
Opraštaju ti se svi gresi tvoji.
All your sins are forgiven.
Padite, to su koraci iscelenja.
These are the steps in the process of healing.
Mene često pitaju, pacijenti, pa čak i adventisti me često pitaju,
My patients often ask me, and even Seventh Adventists ask me,
kaže, doktore, ja ne pušim,
say, Doctor, I don't smoke,
ne pijem alkohol,
don't drink alcohol,
hranim se zdravo.
I eat relatively healthy.
Zašto me snašla maligna bolest ili
Why
teška bolest?
I, develop malignant disease?
Zbog čega?
Why?
Pa zato što mi zaboravljamo
We forget
da emocije mogu biti toksične kao duvanski dim.
that
Ili alkohol.
emotions can be as toxic as tobacco, smoke, cigarette smoke, or as, alcohol.
Je.
So we talk about toxicity of negative emotions. Negative emotions are equally toxic as smoking and HLP in case of heart disease. People exposed to long periods of sadness and pessimism, constant tension and dissatisfaction, fear, cynicism, and doubts are twice as susceptible to diseases, primarily, cardiovascular diseases, immune disorders, asthma, arthritis, headaches, ulcers.
I zato Solomon šalje poruku modernog
And
čoveka.
therefore, Solomon sends a message to a modern human.
Svrh svega što se čuva, čuvaj srce svoje.
Above all other things, take care of your heart.
Zašto?
Why?
Zato što iz njega izlazi život.
Because out of heart comes out life. So let me read just one more sentence. Sadness and depression are associated with reduced immunity and malignant diseases and anger with heart attack. But let's go to heart. For the purpose of everything that is guarded, guard your heart, because from it comes life.
O kom srcu je ovdje reč?
So which heart he is talking about here?
O ovom srcu ovdje
This heart
ili o nekom drugom srcu?
or some other heart?
Onom srce koje se nalazi u mozgu.
Yeah, the heart that is in human mind.
Odnosno u onoj strukturama mozga gdje se stvaraju emocije.
In those parts of brain that are responsible for creating our emotions.
Veselo srce pomaže kao lijek.
Merry heart, you know the verse, works like a medicine, that's right.
A duh žalostan ili depresivno razmišljanje
But sorrowful spirit
obara naš imunitet,
knocks down, brings down our immunity.
kaže suši kosti.
It dries the bones.
Pa je li ima u kostima neka tečnost?
Is there some substance in the bones? The liquid in the bones, huh?
Ima.
Marrow, bone marrow. Yeah.
A šta je uloga?
What is the purpose of this bone marrow?
Pa da, proizvodi krvna zrnca
Yes, produces the red blood cells, that's right.
and imunološke ćelije.
And also the immune cells for immune system.
Tuga i depresija deluju inhibitorno
Yeah.
na kosnu srž i sprečavaju stvaranje imunoloških struktura.
So sadness and depression actually adversely affect the production of these blood cells and immune system in the bone marrow.
Čitamo još jednu poruku, zovemo u goste gospodina Isaka.
Yeah.
Immanuela.
Yeah, this is a German philosopher, Immanuel Kant. A single line in the Bible has consoled me more than all the books I ever read besides.
Koji je on to stih čitao?
Which verse did he read in the Bible? Kant. Those who hope in the Lord get new strength, rise on wings like eagles, run and do not stop, walk and do not faint.
Pazite, opasno je reći ne mogu ja to.
It's dangerous to say I cannot do it.
Ako mi kažemo pa ne mogu ja to,
Oh, I cannot do it. If I say
ćemo
that,
moći onda raditi to.
shall we be able to do it?
Ako kažemo ne može,
If you say I cannot,
nema šanse da to uradimo.
no chance we will do it.
Ako smo optimisti,
But if you're optimist,
i ako naš optimizam i nadu baziramo na Bogu,
and if our optimism and our hope are based on God,
šta će se desiti?
what will happen?
Onaj koji je nemoćan,
The one who is
koji je depresivan,
helpless, who is depressed,
koji teško hoda,
who walks with difficulties,
sporo nešto radi,
he is slow in his
kaže,
movements,
dobijaju novu snagu.
they receive new strength.
I nam treba snage.
Do you need strength? Do you need?
Ja volim da imam više snage.
I would like to have more strength.
Kaže, koji se nadaju Bogu, dobijaju novu snagu.
Those who hope in the Lord
I šta rade?
get new strength.
Silaze u provalije,
They go down
idu
into
u
the.
mračne bunare,
They go into some ravines or no.
idu gore ka svetlosti.
They rise on wings like eagles.
Podižu se na krilima kao orlovi.
Yeah.
Trčanje sustaju,
Run, do not stop.
hodaj ne more se.
And they walk and do not faint.
Optimizam produžava život
Optimism prolongs life and makes it more
i
beautiful.
čini ga lepše.
Makes it more beautiful.
E sad, svemu ima vreme, kaže Solomon,
There is time for everything.
i ja treba da pazim na vreme.
And I need to
Mog
watch
predavanja. Ne znam ni kad sam krenuo.
I have to watch my time as I'm speaking here.
Idemo, vrtimo.
Yeah,
O
we are
duhovnosti i zdravlju.
we
Idemo
are
na
talking
slajd.
about.
To je slajd 48. 48.
Yeah, we are
48.
moving. Yeah, here we are.
Yes. Idemo najdelotvorniji lek
The most effective
i najbolji
medicine
recept za dobro zdravlje i dugovečnost.
and the best recipe for good health and longevity.
Pazite, ovo što sad kažem su potvrdile najpoznatija istraživanja koje se bave faktorima koji utiču na dugovečnost.
So what I will tell you now is confirmed by most respected research work in the scientific field.
Imao sam prilike pre možda jedno 15 godina, možda i više, u Americi,
I had a privilege about 15 years
da imam
ago
časopis,
in the United States. I had a journal,
zdravstveni,
medical journal.
naslov je bio
The title was,
Kako biti dugovečan, kako živjeti dugo
the
i
title was
kvalitetno.
How to Live Long and Be Healthy.
I šta je bio odgovor?
What was the answer?
Čitaj, givers.
Now I'll give you the answer here. This research, givers and those who help others live longer than those who expect gifts and help.
Je li ovo duhovnost?
Is this spirituality?
Je li to duhovni princip ili naš telesni, ljudski neki princip?
Is this a spiritual principle or is this our carnal principle?
Dalje čitaj.
Now let's read on. This research provides extremely strong confirmation of a spiritual principle. Give and it shall be given unto you. It's from the Bible, right? One wastes and has more, and the other insists too much and is poorer and poorer. Solomon. Giving, a man becomes. Helping others, a man heals. And then highlight the text. Giving is not only a moral category, but also biological category, strategy for longevity.
To su napisali lekari koji pitaju da li veruju u Boga.
This was written by the physicians and scientists who may not even believe in God.
Ajde vidimo još zašto darodavci duže žive.
Why givers?
Idemo na slajd 51.
Why givers?
51.
Why givers live longer?
No, 51. Yes, excellent.
This one, right?
Yes.
Why donors live longer? Decades of research, Berkeley, Harvard, Wisconsin, Mayo Clinic, have shown that giving and charity have the following beneficial effects. A, reduces mortality. According to some studies, up to 20 to 30%, especially in the elderly and people with chronic diseases.
Sad neko će živjeti 70 godina,
Somebody will live 70,
a neko će živjeti 20 godina duže, 90.
someone will live 20 years more, up to 90.
Pazite, ja ove godine punim 69.
This year I will be turning 69.
I ako bih hteo da živim duže,
If I want to live longer,
moram dobro da ovo...
I have to pay attention to this, what is,
Pazite, 30% duže živjeti, po to je...
30% have a longer life.
Šta se dešava dalje?
So what happens next, what we find in B, activates and the reward centers of the brain.
Šta se u tim centrima dešava?
So what happens in these centers?
Luči se dopamin.
The dopamine is secreted.
To je neurotransmiter.
It's a neurotransmitter.
Čovek, kada sportisti osvoje olimpijsko zlato,
When an athlete wins Olympic gold,
onda njihov mozak zaliva velika koncentracija dopamina.
their brain is flooded with a large quantity of dopamine.
Znači, u svakom uživanju učestvuje dopamin.
So in any enjoyment, dopamine is involved.
Ali pazite,
But
mi možemo dopamin dobiti, najsigurniji i najpouzdaniji način da dobijemo dopamin jeste da zapamtimo ovu misao. Darodavci žive duže.
the best way, remember this, to get larger quantity of dopamine is this, what we read. People who give, they live longer, they receive this dopamine.
Idemo dalje.
Let's move on. So activates the reward. Yeah. Then C, increases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, has anti-inflammatory and cardioprotective effects.
Znate šta je uloga oksitocina?
Do you know what is the role of oxytocin?
Ja imam celo predavanje o oksitocinu.
I have one whole lecture about oxytocin.
Zapamtite to,
But remember this one.
pišite sebe
Just mark
i vidjet ćete ulogu oksitocina.
and take note of what is the role of
Neko
oxytocin.
će kazati, pa što ja živim 60 godina, nisam nikad čuo za oksitocin, pa valjda mogu živjeti i dalje.
Some people may say, well, I'm 60 years old, I never heard about oxytocin, why should I bother about that?
Ali pročitajte efekte oksitocina.
But you should know what are the effects of
U
oxytocin.
Bibliji piše, prorok Isaija,
In the Bible, in prophet Isaiah says,
kao kaže, lav i tele ili vuk i jagnje će zajedno
yeah.
rasiti.
Now these are messianic or prophecies about the future life of peace, that the wolf and the sheep will be together, and these texts.
Kako to? Da divlja životinja prestane da bude divlja.
So how a wild animal of prey would cease to be ravenous, aggressive, right?
Kako divlju prirodu čoveka pripitomiti?
So how this wild nature can be tamed?
Jer kaže u knjizi o Jovu da
In the
se
book of-
čovek rađa kao divlje magare.
In the book of Job, we are told like a man is born like a wild donkey.
Kako?
How you can change the nature?
Damo injekciju oksitocina
If you give an injection of oxytocin,
i divlja životinja postaje blaga i mila.
the wild beast becomes tame, peaceful.
Šta je uloga oksitocina?
So what does oxytocin do?
Ako žena treba da se porodi,
If woman needs to give a birth
a nema kontrakcije,
and she doesn't have
ne može
contractions,
se porodi.
she cannot deliver.
Dete će umreti.
The child will die.
Šta joj daju?
So what do we give to that woman?
Šta daju?
Oxytocin.
Daju oksitocin u venu.
Intravenously they give oxytocin.
To je malo samo, to je jedan delić o oksitocinu.
This is just one part of its effects.
Idite dalje.
Yeah, we lead on.
Zašto darodavci duže žive?
So D reduces stress and cortisol, and E improves immunity.
I sad ovo zakucaj.
And then highlighted text. Giving heals the giver, not just the receiver. A psychobiological phenomenon called helper's high, neurochemical rush of well-being when we do good.
Evo, mi smo dočekali istraživanja i u 21. veku smo naučili jednu pouku.
So, we have lived to this time that the scientific research confirms this great truth.
760 godina pre Hrista,
760 years before Christ,
šta je zapisano
what was written
o dugovečnosti ljudskog
about
života i o
longevity
zdravlju?
and about longevity and human health.
Čitaj, molim te, ovaj stih.
Yeah. So we read this text from Isaiah 58. Thus said the Lord, deal your bread to the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house. When you see the naked, clothe him, and do not turn away from your neighbor in his distress.
Dalje nastavi.
So we continue. Then your light will break like the dawn, and your health will quickly flourish.
Šta će se desiti?
What will happen?
Kaže, svetlost će tvoja kao zora sinuti,
Your light will break like a dawn,
a zdravlje tvoje će da procveta.
and your health will quickly flourish.
Ovo je naučna istina.
This is a scientific truth.
Ovo nije samo lepršava, poetična izraz ili stih.
Yeah, this is not just a high-flying poetry. That's a scientific truth.
Idemo dalje.
Yeah, one more. You will be like a water garden, like a spring whose water does not dry up. This is Isaiah 58.
Šta je zakon života?
So what is the law of life? What a law of life.
Šta je zakon ili temelj svakog zakona? I životnog, i zdravstvenog, i moralnog, i emocionalnog, i tome slično.
So what is foundational to every law? I mean, moral and biological and whatever.
Ajde da pozovemo još nekog.
Natural laws.
Da pozovemo još nekog na ovo predavanje.
Yeah, we invite one more person to this lecture.
Slide 56.
Love your neighbor, Christ, because that is the law of health and life.
Duhovnost je najznačajniji princip ljudskog zdravlja. I dugovečnosti.
Spirituality is the most important law of life.
Ne zaboravimo to.
Don't forget it.
Ili ima u Kanadi, možemo nabaviti u Kanadi taj lek.
Can we get it here in Canada, this remedy, medicine? Yes.
Kolika mu je cena?
What is the price?
Ko sve može da ga pije?
Who can drink it, take it?
U Bibliji piše još jedan stih.
The Bible, there is one more verse.
Dragane, ima vreme kad počinješ predavanje.
Yeah, Dragan, there is a time to begin your lecture,
Ali ima vreme kad treba da završi.
and there is a time to bring it to closure, to end.
Neka hvala i slava Bogu. Amin.
Let be glory and praise to God. Amen. Thank you.